MCU has never had a villain like Daredevil, born against Muse. The MCU has featured numerous scary villains with deadly, world-ending aims that seek to alter the very fabric of the world as we know it. Thanos Josh Brolin, Ultron James Spader, and even enemies with more grounded ambitions, such as Wilson Fisk, Vincent D'Onofrio, and Killmonger Michael B. Jordan, all seek to propagate a specific philosophy and will go to great lengths to do so. This makes these characters capable of carrying an entire film as the hero's lone antagonist, or even their own storyline, like Thanos did in Avengers Infinity War by becoming the hero of his own story. However, this can sometimes imply that they aren't as frightening as they could be, since we can justify their acts. Daredevil, Born Again's latest episode, Excessive Force, introduces us to an enemy who is unlike any other in the MCU. Muse, who is reported to be played by Hunter Doohan, is frightening because his ultimate goal is not to destroy the planet. Instead, he is the first serial killer we've seen in the MCU. To be clear, a serial killer is defined by how we view them in the real world. Given how the definition has evolved or become more detailed, this is a highly complex topic. However, for the purposes of this study, we will concentrate on characteristics such as being mentally unstable, dangerously irrational, and impulsive to the point of causing harm to themselves. These thematic aspects revolve around Muse, although he does not attempt to transform the world in the same manner that Fisk or the Hand have. Part of what makes him such nightmare fuel is the realism with which he is portrayed as a serial killer, rather than a supervillain. And this distinction could not be more crucial. He has no plans to rule the world, simply to kill as many people as possible in order to show a point and acquire some satisfaction. When he attacks the two women who approach him in this episode, he does something we haven't seen since Abomination in The Incredible Hulk, indiscriminately attacking civilians in ways that don't serve his purpose. However, there is now a retcon that Emil Blonsky, Tim Roth, was unaware of what he was doing at the time with She-Hulk. Having to drain those women and paint that mural would have been a major danger because he would have had to move two bodies instead of one, demonstrating that he has no control over his impulsive behavior. One may argue that we've seen ground-level killers in the MCU previously, such as Adrian Toome's Vulture, Michael Keaton, who had no qualms about murder and sought to remain as low-profile as possible. However, he did this for his family, as he repeatedly stated to Peter Tom Holland in Spider-Man: Homecoming. Here we see why Muse is so terrifying in comparison to previous MCU villains. His motivations are completely selfish and unrestrained. Muse has done more nasty things than any other villain, such as draining blood and ripping out his victims' eyes. When we see the bodies hanged up on chains, and he pants while injecting Hector's, Camera de los Rey's niece, Angela Del Toro, Camila Rodriguez, we get the impression that he is having some sick, twisted pleasure from this moment. Even the wildness in his breath suggests that he knows this is wrong. Yet it's part of the excitement for him. This can be a major element of serial killers, as demonstrated in Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story. Some people are aware that their actions are immoral, but they are unable to stop themselves. We may have seen Muse express this internal tension earlier in the season. He was most likely the one who approached Heather, Margarita Levieva, for assistance during her book signing, as Doohan played this part with his face on the episode and hasn't been seen since. This makes Muse an even more complex figure. He is frightening and a monster, but he is aware of his terrible nature and strives to be better, which is part of what makes him such an effective enemy for Matt, Charlie Cox this season. Characters that, like cruelty, are sometimes condemned for being undeveloped or existing solely for shock value. This is not the case with Muse, who embodies everything that can go wrong with vigilantism. Daredevil and Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr., are examples of characters who use their skills to aid others while also holding themselves accountable for any wrongdoing. However, there are moments when mentally disturbed individuals can express their psychopathic tendencies through a channel, becoming more acceptable in the MCU. The morality of vigilantism has been a recurring theme in Daredevil, Born Again, as Matt battles with whether to suit up again. In this episode, we witness him do so to prevent Muse from murdering Angela. Yet there is an inherent hypocrisy in this deed. Matt takes the law into his own hands to stop a serial killer who has killed at least 60 people. As evidenced by Muse's artwork, Muse will undoubtedly return, as he escaped as Matt was restarting Angela's heart, adding a disturbing undertone to the show's future episodes. Every second we don't see Muse, we wonder what he's up to. Not because he would resist Matt's purpose of restoring order in New York or try to take control, but because we don't know which poor soul he will take to his lair next. Never before in the Marvel Cinematic Universe has an antagonist been as irrational, impetuous, and unsettling. We've seen would-be tyrants, mass murders, and egomaniacs, but not a serial killer whose only objective is to kill and kill again.